Hi, welcome to ArcIntel. What if I told you that the European Union might be headed for a complete overhaul? Not just minor tweaks, a fundamental redesign of how Europe works, with winners, losers, and a brand new hierarchy of power. 27 countries are already inside, but 10 more are knocking at the door, and dozens of others, including places like Norway, the UK, and even Canada, are circling the edges, unsure if they want in or want out. Here's the problem. The EU has just one setting. You are either fully in or you're completely out. No middle ground. But what if Europe was built more like a tiered system with levels of commitment, benefits, and responsibility? That's exactly what's being proposed, and it could change everything. Let's check it out. Let's rewind. What does the EU actually look like today? At the core, 27 countries working together under a shared system. They pass laws through institutions like the Commission, Parliament, and Council. They pool budgets, set regulations, and share a currency, or at least most of them do. Every EU member is part of the single market, allowing free flow of goods, capital, services, and people. But beyond that, things get complicated. The Schengen area, for instance, eliminates internal border checks, but Ireland and Cyprus aren't part of it, at least not yet. Then there's the Eurozone. 7 EU countries still use their own currency. 6 of them are expected to adopt the euro someday. Denmark, however, has locked in an official opt-out. It's not joining, ever. And here's where things get messy. Several countries that aren't EU members still have deep ties to it. Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein are part of the European Economic Area, giving them access to the single market, almost like full members. Switzerland, meanwhile, isn't in the EEA, but has stuck a maze of bilateral agreements to get similar access. All 4, Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland, are in Schengen, but none use the euro. Then there is the Customs Union, which governs shared external tariffs and trade policy. All EU countries are in, but those 4, they've opted out to retain control over their own trade deals. Other countries have unique arrangements. Turkey, for instance, is in a partial customs union. It covers industrial products but excludes agriculture and services. Andorra, San Marino, and Monaco have their own customs agreements, each with specific conditions and restrictions. And finally, the European political community. It includes 47 nations and serves as a platform for talking about common challenges like security, energy, and migration. But it's non-binding, no legal structure, no enforcement, just talk. So even today, there are unofficial levels of EU participation, but they are inconsistent, messy, and crucially, not scalable. The reality? There's still only one true membership, full EU participation. Everything else is a patchwork, and if you are a country hoping to join, well, good luck. The 10 countries currently applying have been stuck in limbo for a combined 125 years. Not one of them has made it into the single market, Schengen, or the Eurozone. That's because the process is brutal. You either close 35 complex chapters of EU law or you stay locked out. There's no phased entry, no halfway option. And once inside, there is no way to downgrade a country that drifts away from EU values. It's a system frozen in time, and it's becoming a liability. Now, for the bold alternative, a 4-tier system, structured, transparent, and finally adaptable. Tier 3 is what we know today, full EU membership. Countries here use the euro, are in Schengen, participate in the single market, and flows EU laws. They contribute to the EU budget and have a seat at the table with full voting rights. Tier 2 is associate membership. No voting power, no representation in the Commission or Parliament, but these countries can still opt into big parts of EU, Schengen, the single market, or the customs union. The structure would be modular. Countries pick what they are ready for and agree to follow the relevant EU laws in those areas. For instance, if a country joins the single market, they would align only with the chapters of EU law related to market regulations. Importantly, no need to close all 35 chapters, just the ones that matter for what they are opting into. They would be rule followers, not rule makers, and they would still contribute financially, just less than full members. Tier 1 is the European Community. No common market, no euro, no legal obligations, just political and strategic coordination. Think of joint discussions and voluntary collaboration on energy, security, migration, climate, and more. To qualify, a country needs to be a part of the Council of Europe and the European Convention on Human Rights. These aren't EU bodies, but they lay the foundation for democratic norms. This level could include most of Europe, yes, even Turkey, despite its authoritarian slide. As long as it respects basic rights, it should be included. Keeping Turkey within a European orbit might be the best alternative to it drifting towards Russia or China. And this tier shouldn't be limited by geography. Canada is an ideal candidate, and parts of North Africa could join too, particularly in areas like energy or migration. Maybe we don't call it just the European Community. Maybe it becomes Europe plus partners. One extra detail: every country in Tier 2 or Tier 3 would also automatically be part of Tier 1. These levels overlap. So, how do countries move between tiers? To reach Tier 2, a country needs to prove democratic strength, an independent judiciary, civil liberties, and a real commitment to rule of law. In technical terms, that means closing Chapter 23 and 24, the ones that deal with fundamental rights and judicial reform. These two are often the hardest for candidates to pass. From there, they can begin integrating into EU structures, bit by bit. No more all or nothing. This would allow Ukraine, Moldova, and several Western Balkan countries to become associate members within the next few years, accessing parts of the single market without having to wait for full membership. Norway, Switzerland, Iceland, and Liechtenstein would automatically qualify for Tier 2. They are already deeply integrated. Canada also deserves a spot, especially as US trade policy becomes more perfectionist. Europe should open, not isolate. To move from Tier 2 to Tier 3, that is full EU membership, a country must meet the existing criteria. All 35 chapters closed, fully aligned with EU law and institutions. But here's the twist. Countries can move down too. Take Hungary. Its democratic decline, erosion of judicial independence, and disregard for EU values should have consequences. If standards aren't met, a country could be demoted to Tier 2, losing its voting rights. If things get worse, further down to Tier 1. On the flip side, Montenegro and Iceland are well positioned to ascend to full membership. Now for the final level, Tier 4, the Inner Union. This would be a tightly aligned group of countries that go beyond economics and commit to foreign policy unity, defense integration, and deeper financial contributions. They would speak with one voice on the world stage, have a joint defense strategy, and make decisions using qualified majority voting. Let's talk about that. Right now, on critical matters like defense and diplomacy, the EU needs unanimous approval. All 27 must agree. That means one small country with just 9 million people can block actions supported by other 435 million. It's dysfunctional. In the Inner Union, it will only take 55% of member states, representing 65% of the population, to approve major moves. No more paralysis. Countries like Germany, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Poland, Romania, Estonia, they could launch this tier. Others could join later. and foreign policy could be coordinated through the European Council and the European External Action Service, using structures that already exist. It's ambitious but not impossible. After all, the Euro and Schengen already operate this way. Europe isn't broken, but it is stuck. New members can't get in, old members aren't held accountable, and key decisions still need 27 countries to agree every single time. This tiered model fixes that. It opens the door for those waiting, gives structure to those drifting, and lets the willing push ahead. Because while Europe delays, others are moving fast. If the EU wants to matter on the global stage, it needs to evolve. Not someday, right now. If you like this video, check out Europe's corporate crisis. In this video, we uncover the shocking reasons why European companies are falling behind in innovation, market value, and global influence. Click the video to watch now.